Alright, so let's go ahead and see some methods here for making this thing look a little more organic and random looking. Okay, one thing that we can do to basically make this look a little more random, we can apply a randomized modifier. So let's go up to the modifiers up here. Let's go to parametric deformers, and let's grab ourselves a noise modifier. Alright, and the noise modifier is going to apply some noise to this object and make it look a little bit more random. So by default, it doesn't really do anything to the mesh. That's because of our strength parameters over here for the noise modifier set to 0, 0, and 0, and the X, Y, and Z. And they do just as the name suggests. Basically, these different strength parameters control noise projected in the X, Y, and Z coordinates of 3D space. So for example, if I go ahead and take the Z parameter here and I increase that, you can start to see that the vertices start to move up and down because that's the Z-axis. Another thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn on the fractal parameter, okay? And iterations will control the strength, so it'll just add more strength to it. So what I'll do is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to take the valence here and make it see-through. And looks like I had two valences right there on top of each other, so I'll get rid of that one. Okay, so I'm going to take the curtain here, the drapes, and I'm going to go to the noise modifier. I'm going to give it some strength in the Z, just a little bit, and you can see how it starts to move some of these things, pulls them up and down. So just a little bit. I'm going to go to the Y, and I can add a little bit of noise to the Y. And the X, I can also add some noise to the X. Careful not to add too much or else it's going to pull stuff apart. So I just add a little bit. And it's a very subtle amount of noise, but it does make a bit of a difference, which always helps. Okay, you could also change the seed parameter over here to get different results. I'm just going to leave it at 0. Alright, in this case noise isn't going to help us too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to, I'm going to right click on the noise modifier over here. And actually, I don't even need to. I'm just going to go over here to the editable poly node right there in the modifier stack. Make sure you turn on the show end result. Very important. Okay. And what I can also do is I can apply a freeform modifier to this to make things look a little bit more natural. If we look at the image, you notice that at the top of the drapes, since the pleats are compressed over here in the corner, everything's kind of tighter. But toward the bottom where there's no pleats, the curtain or the drape is a lot more free to be able to kind of, stretch out a bit. And you could see that it kind of fluffs out toward the bottom as opposed to the top where it stays compressed and tight. Alright, so let's see if we can imitate that effect. So let's take the entire drape over here and let's go to modifiers. And I'm going to apply a freeform deformer. I'm going to grab a 4x4x4. Okay? And if we hit 1 on the keyboard with the modifier selected over here in stack, we'll be able to select the control points. And that's very important because you can see that we have these different points right here. And if we take those points, you can actually scale the points. You can move them around. Okay? And that'll allow you to create different types of effects for this. So for example, I can take the bottom here and I can scale it. Kind of move it like this. Maybe not overdo it too much. And you can see how you could start to control the shape of the curtains here and make it look very organic. These are not very precise movements, but that's exactly what you want when you're dealing with something that's organic like this. Okay, so these type of deformers, these types of techniques and things are perfect for when you're dealing with more organic type of 3D meshes and objects, things like this. And you want to go with subtlety. You don't want to exaggerate it too much because then it might look like there's maybe some wind or something inside of your house, which would be kind of weird. Or maybe there's a draft. Maybe you left a door or window open. And you could actually imitate that if you wanted to make it look like this window was open. You could just come in here and take some of this stuff and move it like this. See that? Make it look kind of like there's a gust of wind coming into the window and pushing this stuff out. So that's pretty cool. That's another idea that you can use right there. So you can see how basically it's up to your own imagination and just human ingenuity to create some interesting type of things like this. So I'm going to take this one. I'm also going to just kind of pull this one out a bit. And really, there's no set of rules or directions as to how you're supposed to do this. There's no, this is the professional way of doing it. This is how everyone does it, so you have to do it like this too. That just doesn't exist with this. When doing organic things like this, it's all about technique and just using whatever method works. Okay? So just play with it, toy around with it until you get this thing to look the way that you want it to. And it'll pretty much take care of itself. The only rule I would say to follow is just to dedicate plenty of time to it. Don't try to do it too quickly. Make sure that you're happy with the results that you have. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to my editable poly. And what I'm going to do here with this guy is I'm going to go back to my paint deform. I'm going to use the pinch and spread. Increase the size of my brush a little bit right there. You can use the Alt key to pinch this together, and just use the left mouse button to spread it. I'm going to pinch this together like so. So you could pinch certain areas together, or you could spread certain areas apart, just to make this thing look just more natural. Alright, so I'm going to speed up the video here, and I'm just going to play around with this more and more and more until I get something that I like. Okay. So I'm going to say I'm happy with that at the moment. I'm going to end this video here, and in the next one we're going to see about how do we go ahead and place these curtains everywhere else and give them a more asymmetrical, random look to make it look more natural.